Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. I am going to take some kale left over from the recipe that I made in my last video where I did a minestrone soup recipe, and I'm going to take the kale and try blanching it. And so to do that, you have to take the stems off because they'll get like too stiff. And so I'm gonna throw those in the compost. Probably should put that over here just so it's right there. And once I have everything cut up and good to go, then I can boil some water, and also while the water heats, fill a large bowl with ice water and set the ice bath aside. So this is my first time actually blanching kale, so we're gonna see how this goes. But I love the idea of that it'll freeze, it'll actually save some vegetables. And I, for some reason, brought way more kale than I actually needed for the recipe. I actually think that the recipe was good, but I think I would definitely change some things up just for my own flavor. Because personally, I think that some vegetables I would use less of, or either just not use at all. And I do like using kale or spinach in recipes, especially things like soup, because I personally feel like those are the perfect recipes to throw leafy greens in and get your leafy greens in for the day. Because personally, I am not as big on salad as some people are, and so I feel things that are more along the lines of soups or even just other things. It had me put the kale in water, cold water, to rinse it, and so I'm basically taking it out of the water, which kind of feels like a mess. I don't know if I would do that in the future, because that just seems like an extra step that isn't really needed. But I do think I'm gonna have to do it in steps, because right now my big pot has the soup in it. I am actually going to put it in a container because I just think it takes too much room. Takes up too much room in the fridge, and I think that it's just going to be better to go ahead and stay in this big container I have, which it'll still take up a lot of room, but I think in the long run it'll be better, especially because then it's easier to move around and stuff. I have never tried doing this before, so I am interested to see how this goes, and it'll also help me decide if I want to do this in the future. I was honestly just going to throw the kale in the compost, which I know is probably not the best way to do it, but I do like using soup, and I do like using kale in soups. So I was my mom was actually the one who suggested looking into it, and I was I've never heard of that. So I am gonna try it out. As you can see, this is a lot of kale, so we have so much we're trying to get through here. Yeah, I think the water idea is just simply a way to clean the kale and everything, which I'm not that. It's still gonna boil, so what do you really need it for? I mean, I feel like some people are a little extra about they cleaning their vegetables, but that's not me. I still have some extra carrots, which I totally would have thrown all of those in. Next time, if I make this recipe again, I would totally just throw all of the carrots in the minestrone. I really have a taste for minestrone soup anyways. I just really wanted to try the recipe So, okay, let's pour this water out. Okay, that poured enough of it out because it was just starting to become too much because now I have like only like 3 pieces of kale left. So you're not really supposed to, like, they don't suggest you to use leafy greens in like the broth when using it for that. So that's why I thought this was actually a really nice thing to try, because you're really, basically the idea with leafy greens is that they're not going to make your like broth as like, they're going to give a weird taste to your broth, I think is what it is. But there's other things to it as well. And so I'm going to just cut this up some so that it's a little bit smaller. But yeah, I think I'm going to have to work in like, man, I don't know why, like suddenly I like just, I don't have a cough. Yeah, this is all the kale. And like, that's kind of surprising. But I'm like surprised. But I mean, when you buy it from the farmer's market, like, I have to remind myself that like just one thing of kale is actually a lot more than you think. Okay. Alright. So, boil the water, add salt, and like, you add salt to a large pot of water. I'm honestly not sure. I have a large pot, but that's currently has my soup in it. So we're probably going to have to just work in batches, which is fine. While the water heats, fill a large bowl with ice water and set the ice bath aside. Blanch the kale. Add your kale to the boiling water and let it cook for 1 to 2 minutes or until it loses most of its volume and gets soft. Okay. Alright. I'm going to work on that and I will be back. Alright. We are back. I tried to make an ice bath like it wanted me to. It is boiling and it's supposed to cook for 1 to 2 minutes or until it loosens and like most of its volume and gets softer. So I'm going to set a timer for 2 minutes because personally I am fine with kale being soft. Don't really care. And might have put a tiny bit more in than I should have, but I just also know how like kale, spinach, all those like leafy greens, man, I cannot talk today. They are definitely one of those things that, you know, the more they're in the hot water, they just kind of like get nice and soft, and they may not like taste super soft. Spinach does, I think, but kale still has that like volume, like to some degree. It's just like not as rough tasting. So we're gonna do that. I will say the water for the that you're supposed to like, I think, put it in afterwards is not super, you know, soft. Yeah, it says to remove the kale from the boiling water with tongs or a spider strainer, and then transfer it to an ice bath to stop the cooking process. So I might add more ice in here. And so I'm going to work on this. As you can see, here is the lovely kale. I kind of think this is a tongs thing. I have put the kale in the ice bath. We have a whole nother batch to do, just a very small batch because my pot was not big enough for all of the kale. And so after that, after you remove the kale from the ice bath, like you take it, put it in the ice bath. This is my first time doing it, like I said. So you put it in the ice bath, and then you can just drain the kale from the strainer after it is cooled down, I guess. Yeah, let it chill for 10 seconds before draining. Then drain and dry the kale. Place the kale with a strainer and add them to your recipe or for later use. Dry the kale thoroughly with a clean kitchen towel or using a salad spinner, which I don't have one anymore. I got rid of mine because I never used it. And follow the steps below to freeze for long-term storage. Alright. I will honestly just probably put mine in like a stasher bag, or either put mine in like a, if I have a plastic bag, I'll probably do that. But if I take plastic bags for any reason, they're usually because someone else gave them to me. I definitely love my stasher bags. So most likely I think we'll probably just use that. And so that's definitely been in there for 10 seconds. So I think we can drain that one and then get working on the next batch. Okay, so to freeze the blanched kale, you have to actually squeeze the excess water out of the kale leaves as much as you can. Then line a baking sheet with a kitchen towel and spread the water onto the sheet and pop it into the freezer for 2 to 3 hours. And then after that is when you can, you take it out of the freezer and place the now frozen blanched kale in an airtight container. So, wow. And the nice thing is you can label, date, and store up for 6 months. So if I want to have honestly, I'm an all year round soup kind of girl, and it is, June, so 6 months, I could even have it in November or December by then, so not a problem. So, alright, so that's crazy in some sense because I just had no idea it was that excessive. Gotta find the small, see if I can find another. Okay, there's a very small one. And I do, of course, still have more that I'm waiting on to be ready. It looks like it's almost ready now, so. Woo! Alright. I'm honestly just using my hands because it just seems the easiest. I also don't get the purpose of all the water context, but it's just because by using all the water, that's just adding more water to the kale. My camera got exhausted and died, so we are using my computer now. I'm going to go ahead and put the kale I've already used on here. We honestly might need a bigger container because I did not realize. I don't even know that I got all the water out. I just, like I was saying, I really cannot believe how much water it wants you to use in the process. We're putting the second batch of kale in, which is thankfully a lot less, but I feel like it should still work to just. Now you can see I have the second batch, which is even smaller. You're now going to throw this in the freezer, and I have the recipe called for you to just line a baking sheet with a kitchen towel, which I guess is supposed to catch any water and kind of grab onto the water. And then I'm going to pop it into the freezer for 2 to 3 hours to flash freeze it. So I'm going to just set a timer for probably 3 hours because it seems like there's a lot of water on here anyway. And maybe 2 hours since there's really not that much. And then remove from the freezer and place the now frozen blanched kale in an airtight container or freezer bag. It has now been 2 hours, and I decided that since it was such a small amount of kale compared to if I had used more, that I was just going to freeze it for 2, and so we're going to just put it in the stasher bag, and we're gonna do it that way. That's honestly, if I had to give my experience on this, I think it was a lot of water and it just blew my mind, the concept of how you have to, boil it and then freeze it but then take it out and put it in a container, and it just, I don't know, it just seems like a lot of odd steps. This was to me, this concept is completely different from when I make my own broth. That is so much more takes time, but it doesn't it definitely is a lot different. And I'm glad that I'm gonna be able to use it, and so it's gonna be able to get used. But I still was also kind of this was a totally weird experience. Let me know in the comments if you have tried it before, or if you even this is one of your things that you do on the regular. When you do want to save kale or another leafy green. I honestly have no idea if there's another you can use other leafy greens. I just thought it would be fun to share my experience and just talked about what I thought about it. I probably, normally I would just probably have thrown it in my compost, but I will say, I do like to put kale in, actual soups and things where, they'll get, more disguised, because I just can't, I've never been able to figure out how to do kale salad and actually enjoy it. I feel some people are really good at that. My dad's wife is really good at it, but I'm not. I'm just very much I also just am not big on salads. I am very much the opposite. I can find a million other things that I want to eat for lunch. So we have it in the stasher bag, and we're just going to put it back in the freezer, and I will see you guys next time. And don't forget to comment, and subscribe.